I think one of the problems is that a lot of people, when they're selling in sales, is that you're more concerned about how amazing you are as a salesperson and how to persuade people. But the biggest hindrance in persuasion is what prevents people from, first of all, understanding your solution. Secondly, even when they do understand your solution, what makes it difficult for them to accept that they do need that solution.
G'day podcast tribe, Gerald Hubert here on the Unlock Your Growth podcast. This is the podcast that helps your business to accelerate its growth, to add real value to your customers, and to make a lasting impact in the world around you. Well, today we have a very, very special episode for you, and as you can see, we have a very special guest as well, and it's a returning guest this time. We're very happy to have you back here. Welcome, Pastor Jabu. Thank you so much for joining us once again in the studio.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Wow, it's awesome to be back. And then there's another episode after this coming as well with you. So it's going to be so much value in such a short time. Imagine that.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
All right. And then also with me in the studio, my co-hosts today, as always, welcome Christian Nyambui.
Bonjour. Hi, Pastor Jabu.
Yes.
We are happy to have you here and ready to hear your value and just get more, as always.
More and more. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about this very important question, especially if you are a person that has recently started a business, or maybe you are thinking about starting a business within the next year, in the upcoming year. We all know those New Year's resolutions, on New Year's, this year I'm going to start that business, because every year you put it off. And there's a very important concept that we want to talk about today. And the thing we want to address is how to communicate your value. How to communicate your value as a person, but also how to communicate your value as a company. And this is kind of something that talks a little bit to the idea of branding, because your brand is supposed to communicate your value to the ideal customer. But it also speaks about an organic marketing where people are able to understand exactly what it is that you do as a person, giving them products or services, or as a company. And we have seen oftentimes that, especially with new companies, that they have great ideas, but they don't know how to communicate the value of those ideas to their customers. And therefore, people are not interested in those nice ideas because they don't know about it, or they don't know exactly the value that it brings. Now, I think that, Pastor Jabu, you are a perfect person to talk about this, because we have seen you take your company and your personal brand from zero to the place where now people are actually seeking after you. Right, we heard this, we were talking, somebody mentioned the story yesterday about, they saw on social media how people were talking about you on one of your posts, like, oh, have you met him yet? No, I haven't met him yet, oh, I'm going to see him in this event, I'm so excited. And it's like, wow, it's like, people are looking forward to meeting you, people are looking forward to sitting in your workshop or working with your company, because they clearly understand what they're going to gain from that. And so I think maybe you can talk us through a little bit of the process of how did you get to a place where you were unknown, unheard of. People didn't know, they saw you doing things, but they didn't know how it relates to them, to a place where it's clear and now people are actually looking for you and they want to work with you because they understand the value that you bring. So maybe just walk us through that. I know it's a big question, so you can chop it down. Yeah. I know you probably already have it nicely chopped and prepared in your head, so just go through it as you want to at your own pace.
Yeah, I think it's a crucial question that you're asking about, how do we communicate our value? And I think it's important, first of all, to understand what a value is and what we as human beings determine is a value. There are several points to what a value is. Of course, there's a factor of, price. But before we even get to the price, I think the first thing we need to understand is that what makes things valuable to people is what do they gain from whatever it is that you're offering. Okay, and then whatever it is that they're looking for to gain is determined by a few factors. One of those factors is the factor of need. What do they need? And needs are also determined by other few factors. What are people struggling with? All right? What are people looking to improve? What is it that people are trying to achieve? And I found that the more personal experience or the more closely related are you to whatever the problem is, the easier it is then for you to communicate whatever it is your solution may be. You know what I mean? So I think that's important. I think the first thing for me in terms of communicating my value and one of the reasons why there is a response to my solutions, to my services, and even to me as a person that is offering those solutions, or if you want to use the word a brand that is addressing the particular solution, is that these are factors that are very close to my heart. I've got personal relationship with them. I've got personal history with them. I've struggled with the problem with the issues of thinking, for example, as a mindset development specialist. I've struggled not only myself but also those who are close to me. I've seen them struggle. I've seen them come to me as a pastor for the same problems, as a big brother, as a citizen of this country, as a leader in whatever sphere of operation I found myself in, and realizing and understanding the problem from many different angles has helped me then to formulate the next few things which I want to talk about. All right. The first thing is, what is the problem? Problem statement. And the thing about understanding a problem is that you got to approach the problem from many different angles. Yes, from your own personal experience, but your personal experience is not enough, because then you're going to be limiting your solutions only to what you've personally experienced. The second one is other people's experiences, which means that you're going to find a way to find out what are they struggling with. What are the similarities between your own struggles and their own struggles? And also then you're going to look at that, not just different people, but also in terms of different environments. Where else, outside of those people who are within your own reach, where else are people struggling with the similar problems? Is there anything else that you can learn about environments that are different to yours? Simple example would be, coming up with a problem. Is it a city-based problem? Are you looking at it from a rural perspective? Are you looking at it from the suburban perspective? Are you looking at it from the provincial perspective, from a regional perspective, or from a global perspective? If you happen to have the opportunity then to cover those different environments, then go for it. All right, so the more comprehensive your solution is, or rather the more comprehensive your understanding is of the problem, the more you can structure a solution also to be comprehensive. And then, of course, then you can be able to break it apart and maybe even have different solutions, because you understand the problem from different angles. And I think, then one of the challenges that most new businesses have is the fact that you don't have that knowledge, you don't have that experience, you haven't had the opportunity to look at the problem from multiple angles. And that's probably one of the reasons why you find that maybe the solution either is overshooting or undershooting, or, even sometimes just completely off, So I think that's very important. I think what makes my solution so easy to articulate is because I've had a long experience of struggle as a black person in this country, as a person in a country that has so many different problems. A lot of my history has contributed a lot in terms of what my own frustrations are, and I look at even some of your more successful business people who actually become brand ambassadors of their own solutions. Thinking about people like your Elon Musks, or even thinking about some of the people here in this country. I'm thinking about a friend of mine, Witness, who's into property. I mean, his own frustrations led him into the business. And so in understanding what his own frustrations were and what kind of solutions he would have helped him, then makes it easier for him to say, oh, okay, this is then why my solution is better. You know what I mean? So that's crucial.
I have a question. You said you have to see your solution or the problem in a different perspective, like locally and internationally, and you just to see like globally. So if that goes with your vision and then what you want to, the goal that you are setting yourself to achieve according to your with your value that you want to communicate or the solution that you want to bring in the world. So how do you go by trying to identify now your audience? And then how do you reach them or how do you get to them because you are in the different location and different things?
Yeah, and I think the second part of, again, being able to communicate your value is that you need to know who is it affecting. Whoever is affected by the problems that you're trying to solve is your target market. It's very, very simple for me. And then being able to know, okay, what makes it difficult for those kind of people to sometimes understand that they even need your solution. You know, I think one of the problems is that a lot of people, when they're selling in sales, is that you're more concerned about how amazing you are as a salesperson and how to persuade people. But the biggest hindrance in persuasion is what prevents people from, first of all, understanding your solution. Secondly, even when they do understand the solution, what makes it difficult for them to accept that they do need that solution. And so that then makes it, for me, I think it's crucial to be able to determine that. That's why you need to look at the problem from many different dimensions, not just in terms of the region, but also in terms of the different psychosocial conditions, in terms of the different psychological perspectives, in terms of different emotional stances or emotional perceptions about what the problem is. Because another thing about, buying or people's with the decisions that we make, let's talk about specifically about buying. Of course, price is an important part of that. But most of the time we've learned over time that price is probably at the very bottom of the decision-making hierarchy. People make decisions based on a couple of things. Number one, their own perception of you as the brand. How have you packaged yourself as a brand? They'll look at what is your own credibility and reputation. So in other words, how you present yourself out there and what are other people saying about you out there. The third thing, they make a decision based on their own transcendent reasons. I call them transcendent reasons from the point of even things like their own belief systems. Like Christians make different purchasing decisions that were different to what Muslims would, different through people that don't even have any kind of religious orientation. Like, do you understand that those are important factors of how people make decisions and how they're going to spend their money? Their own moral principles and convictions around, people that are into green things, people that are into whatever. And then there's a factor of personal reasons such as status. When somebody associates with your brand, let's say somebody's buying a car, when somebody's buying a BMW, they're not buying a vehicle that can take them from point A to point B. They're buying something a lot more than that. How do they feel? What does buying that car mean to them as a hardworking person, as somebody who's succeeding in terms of their age, in terms of the life stage, in terms of the status? I mean, there are many reasons why people make decisions to buy. And so you got to think about yourself, especially if you're in this space where the purchasing of your product is so personal and it somehow addresses factors such as that, factors such as your life stage, such as your status, such as it has certain element of, public display or public consumption, like let's say clothing, for example, or even as for me as a coach, I always have this thing in my mind that I know that I've got a lot of one day potential clients. One day is one day potential clients. Now one day I will afford that guy's brand. And what I learned that from being young, when you're looking at your BMWs, your Porsches, your whatever, be it Mercedes-Benz, and seeing one day I will buy that car. It's not about the car, but it's about me and what it means when I'm in a position to buy that car. Do you understand that is a very important reason for people, why people are buying? When you are presenting your brand out there, does it regard that? When you've got Oxano out there, the brand presentation, what is the emotional, what does it provoke in somebody emotionally? But you won't be able to do that if you don't know who that person is. Where are they? What are they struggling with? What are they looking for? How do you communicate in such a way that is so simple that they can interpret it to make a simple decision? So don't overcomplicate, for example, your branding, for example, with too many colors, with too many messaging. And if you're starting out, I know people think, you know what, the more I've got 1,000 different products, the easier, then I can just see who's going to be. No. If you have one or two products that are well put together, well packaged, with a good understanding of a problem statement, with a good articulation on how the problem is going to solve how the solution is going to solve the problems, to what extent it's going to solve, and we'll talk about that just now. How do you articulate your solution? If a person is not able to do that, then it becomes extremely difficult for them to connect and to even be aware of the existence of your product.
I like before you get to your last point there, but I like how you're putting this together in understanding that value is really a perception.
Yeah.
That communicating my value is about the perception that I'm creating in the market. That how do people perceive me? Because it's not so much about that people care so much about how much it's worth or what they're going to get from it, but it's the perceived value to them as an individual person or a company that they have certain ideas that make it valuable to them. So, I mean, for some people, like you said, that two people can look at the same product. For the one, this product means the world. It's immeasurably valuable to them. To another person, it's useless. It's like, well, why would I pay that much money? And we talk like that all the time. We trash on each other's car choices. Like,
exactly.
Oh, you like BMW? And then it's these kind of things because one person's perception of what is value is different from another person's perception of what is valuable. And so I like what you said, that it's really, you need to understand who you are talking to and what are you addressing. Because if you try to talk if you're addressing the right thing, but you're talking to the wrong people, they won't see that as valuable.
Yeah.
But if you have the right problem and you understand who those people are with these problems, and you can give a perception of relieving that pain or creating an emotion for them or reaching their goals or what they're going to gain from that, because you know what it feels like to be in their position or you know what they are striving for, then value is immediately created. Even though they don't have something in their hand yet, they will pay for it.
Yeah.
Because they have that perception of, I'm going to get value from this. So I just really enjoyed how you put those things together. So you mentioned the last point. What is the last point that you wanted to mention about?
The last point is about your own solution. First of all, how good is your solution? And the way that you articulate how good your solution is, again, is directly connected to how well you understand the problem. You know what I mean? And also understanding, for example, who is in front of me. Like, certain clients have the same problem, but they don't think it needs to be sorted out in the same way. And therefore, if I'm going to articulate my solution based on what I think, how the problem should be sorted out, it's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? So again, I need to collect information, asking the right question. And one of the first things that if you understand the problem well, then you know the questions that you need to ask to gather the information that will help you then to present your package, your product, in a way that the person in front of you can immediately be able to see value. You know what I mean? And then the second thing also is going to be about, yourself as a person that's going to be carrying out. If it's your company, if it's your people, if it is you as a personal brand. So, for example, when I'm called in to come and speak about a particular topic, I need to show that I'm well versed in the topic, especially how the topic relates to or if it's a company, the people in their company. Is it is it diverse people that are in the company? Is it predominantly men? Like I had to do a talk with another company there on International Men's Day. It was going to be men in the room, you know, in the corporate sector who were at a certain executive level. And I needed to articulate my solution based on the fact that understanding their age, understanding where they're at in terms of the hierarchy of leadership in a company, understanding the diversity of problems in terms of culture, in terms of the history of this country, in terms of some of the psychosocial conditions around even issues of gender and all of that, masculinity and femininity, and talking to those factors and showing my understanding of how those relate made it easier for the solution to be well received.
Because they have an expectation, right? When you
Precisely.
When you come there and you're coming to talk to them, they're expecting you to deliver value. And if you don't talk on to their level or to their perception of what is valuable to them, you're going to miss their expectations completely.
Precisely. Delivering the value even at the point of consultation. Now think about it even as a brand, right? There's a brand promise. What is a brand promise? And the promise has to be directly connected to what I want. If your brand promise does not link to what I need, it's going to be a problem. There's a factor of the brand promise. And then, of course, your salespeople that are going out there, then they're going to then talk to the brand, how the brand, the solution itself, connects to the people's problem. And so if the salesperson doesn't understand the client that is in front of them and what doesn't have the right questions, collect the right information, they're going to be trying to sell, let's say if it's in cars, they're going to be trying to sell a sports car to a mother of two.
Selling a car to a horse.
You know what I mean? Or selling a car to a horse. But if you don't understand, or for example, if, I always, because I work a lot in the motor industry with some of these brands, I always talk about the fact that a lot of salespeople sometimes miss it completely. If you get a young person there at the age of 25 and they're buying the car for the first time, they're not buying a car.
No.
They're buying an experience. They're buying a moment.
A reputation.
They are sort of affirming their own success.
Yeah.
And so you have to be part of that process and you got to create that experience for them. You know, because at the end of the day, those cars, especially in the entry level market, they can pretty much call cars the same price, same features. They all pretty much look the same these days anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so what's going to be the distinct factor? The distinct factor is going to be, how do you create that experience? How do you celebrate my success? How do you become part of my process? Sometimes you come in there alone. You don't necessarily have family because you're coming from very far and then you live now in the city and then you are there by yourself. How do I become your brother? How do I become your sister as you're buying the car? To create that experience for you, to create that moment for you, make it memorable for you. That's going to be the distinct factor that's going to determine whether or not, the person is going to buy from the car from manufacturer A, manufacturer B, or manufacturer C. Yeah. Or the dealership, rather, let's put it that way.
Wow. Experience has a huge weigh in on value. I like that. Maybe in closing, can you just briefly speak to a person that's maybe looking at launching their brand, or maybe they just started a business, maybe in just one sentence, where would you advise that person to start in communicating their value, just in a very summarized nutshell way for them that they can apply today?
Number one, you. Okay, what is your experience? How vast is your experience? How comprehensive is your experience? In your posts, in your marketing, you got to show, I've been in the business for a certain amount of time. These are the clients that I've worked with. These are the credentials that I have. You know, I do that a lot in terms of showing my adverts and showing where I'm doing the work. That immediately shows the fact that I'm credible, I'm reputable, I'm in demand, and it's good to associate with me. So that's how you communicate your brand. How do you present yourself? Understand that the people who are your target audience are also used to a certain type of look, certain type of appeal. Don't be too far out that you start to disturb their own, like you get their attention for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? You get their attention for the wrong reasons. So the second part is about your own solution. What makes a solution good? How well do you solve the problem? How well does it solve? To what extent does it solve the problem? Are you able to show other things that maybe you understand the gaps of other solutions that exist in the market? All right. For example, in my speaking business, I've heard that a lot of clients sometimes complain about how difficult it is to work with certain people. So part of my company's solution is that we're easy to work with. We want to know what you want and how to deliver what you want in the best way that you want, and we'll give you advice. And then if you take it or not, it's fine. But the main concern is you, right? And then the third thing is understand, again, as you've mentioned, understand what exists in the market as far as competition. Who's in the space? How well are they doing in comparison to them? If when you look at them, what can you borrow?
Yeah.
All right. Nothing is new under the sun.
Yeah.
You don't have to plagiarize, but in terms of certain practices, you don't have to start from scratch. You can borrow from what is already existing, learn how to walk, learn how to run, and then eventually you can create your own way to be able to fly. Some people come into the market and they want to come up with the most unique solution, but the most unique solution requires a lot of explanation. So what is within reach? What is within grasp of your audience? What is within their understanding? Yeah, you can make it nice, look nice, make the brand looks nice, get the colors really good going. But if, for example, you start bringing in really, really bright colors and crazy colors in an environment that is used to more conservative colors, then it's like, oh wow, is that a gym? Is that a fashion house? Is that a food place? I remember I was coaching a person who wants to do gym. I'm like, listen, your brand, your logo doesn't communicate anything about what you do. The colors don't even line up with the industry itself, and you're starting out. You can. I've had I'm sure you know about it. I've done like 3 or 4 different brand changes of my own branding. Now that I am reputable, now that I've got my own brand, I can do my own. I can now change the brand to make it what I want it to be. But that's because now I have a degree of credibility. But if you're starting out and your brand is so unique and so different and so out of this world, it might work against you, especially if your clients are more conservative and they're sensitive to change. So you got to understand things like that. So yourself, right, who you are, your solution, and then the clients. At the end of the day, it is more about them.
Yeah.
It's about them more than it is about you.
Oh, thank you so much, Pastor Jabu. As I said, now there's always so much value in when you are there or when you are talking. Like, I can see why so many businesses fail, because already the foundation is wrong, and you don't know who you are communicating to. You don't know the problem, or you have some ideas and then you saw there, it's just too much confusion in the entrepreneurship industry, or people want to do it. But it's okay. We are here, and then they can follow you with your social media. I don't know if you can just give your contact, if they want to find you, want to see you, your social media number or whatever.
Yeah.
Give,
TikTok, Jabu Zwane Talk. Facebook, Jabu Zwane Profile. Not Facebook, I mean Instagram. Jabu Zwane Profile. On Facebook, it's Jabu Zwane. If you're looking for Jabu Zwane Mindset Development Institute, you'll find me there. And on LinkedIn, Jabu Zwane as well. If you see Jabu Zwane Mindset Development Institute or Mindset, it should just pop up. Or even you put it into Google, Jabu Zwane Mindset, the whole page will be full of my platforms and where I am.
Thank you so much, Tribe. We are done for today. I think there will be another episode with Pastor Jabu. Then there's still so much value to get from Pastor Jabu. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you to the next episode. Thank you. Bye.